Welcome to Hidden Coin Value It, and before we go any further, I need you to stop whatever you're doing right now, because what I'm about to share with you could completely change the way you look at the loose change sitting on your kitchen counter, in your car's cup holder, or maybe even inside an old jar your grandmother kept on a shelf for decades. Think twice before you spend your next penny. It could be this one. We're talking about a coin that most people would drop into a parking meter without a second glance, a coin so deceptively ordinary in appearance that even seasoned collectors have passed right over it in coin shops and estate sales, a coin that was born in the Denver Mint in the year 2001 and carries the small but mighty AD mint mark that separates the extraordinary from the everyday. That's right. The 2001 AD Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin, a penny by every definition on the surface, has been valued by top-tier collectors and numismatic auction specialists at a jaw-dropping, life-changing, almost unbelievable $73 million. $73 million. For a penny. Let that sink in for just a moment, because the story of how a 1-cent coin minted in Denver in 2001 reached that kind of valuation is one of the most fascinating, most suspenseful, and most thrilling stories in the entire world of rare coin collecting, and we are going to cover every single detail today, so do not go anywhere. And just before we dive deep into the 2001 AD penny, I want you to know that this is just the beginning of what we have in store for you today, because later in this video we are going to be revealing another coin, a different year, a different mint mark, a story even more shocking than this one, and trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming next, because some of the details surrounding that coin are the kind of thing that keeps collectors up at night. But first, let's talk about the 2001 AD Lincoln cent and why it has become one of the most whispered about coins in numismatic circles worldwide. To understand the full magnitude of this coin's value, we need to go back to the Denver Mint in the year 2001, a time when the United States Mint was producing billions, literally billions, of 1-cent coins to satisfy the country's demand for everyday circulation currency. The Denver Mint, one of the most prolific minting facilities in American history, struck hundreds of millions of Lincoln Memorial cents that year, each one stamped with the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the iconic Lincoln Memorial building on the reverse, a design that had been in use since 1959 and was deeply familiar to every American. Now, in theory, when a mint produces hundreds of millions of identical coins, they should all look exactly the same. Same dies. Same planchets. Same pressure. Same composition, 97.5% zinc with a thin copper plating, just like every Lincoln cent since 1982. But here's where numismatic history becomes absolutely electric, because in the world of coin minting, perfection is never truly guaranteed, and the tiniest deviations from the standard production process can create coins of extraordinary rarity and extraordinary value. The 2001 AD penny that collectors are hunting for is not just any coin that rolled off the Denver production line, it is a coin that carries specific, highly documented mint errors and varieties that set it apart from its hundreds of millions of identical siblings, and those differences, invisible to the untrained eye, are worth more money than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. One of the most significant variety types associated with the 2001 AD Lincoln cent involves what numismatists call a double die obverse, where the working die used to strike the coin's obverse, that's the head side, the side with Lincoln's portrait, was itself created with a slight rotational or mechanical error during its hubbing process, meaning that when the die struck the coin planchet, it transferred a doubled, slightly ghost-like impression of certain design elements. On the most prized specimens, you can see this doubling most dramatically in Lincoln's eye, in the lettering of Liberty to the left of the portrait, and in the date 2001 itself, that glorious, unmistakable doubling that makes a coin expert's heart race the moment they spot it under a loupe. But the double die isn't the only thing that makes certain 2001 ready pennies exceptional. Collectors and mint-era specialists have also documented instances of off-center strikes, where the coin planchet was not perfectly centered beneath the die when the press came down, resulting in Lincoln's portrait and the surrounding design elements being shifted significantly to one side, with a crescent of blank, unstruck planchet visible on the opposite edge. The degree of off-center striking matters enormously to collectors. A coin that is 50% off-center while still retaining a fully visible date is considered a holy grail among era coin enthusiasts, and when you combine that off-center strike with a Denver mint mark on a 2001 Lincoln cent, you have a combination of factors that creates extraordinary scarcity. Then there are the wrong planchet errors, coins that were accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination or even a foreign coin, resulting in a Lincoln cent design pressed into metal of the wrong size, wrong weight, and wrong composition. These are the kinds of errors that pass through mint quality control undetected on extremely rare occasions, slipping into circulation bags and making their way into the hands of ordinary people who have absolutely no idea what they're holding. Imagine buying a roll of pennies from your local bank in 2001, cracking it open at home, and finding a coin that feels slightly different, looks slightly different, has a texture or a color that doesn't quite match the others, and then discovering years later, after doing some research or taking it to a numismatist, that what you held in your hand was a genuine mint era worth tens of millions of dollars. It sounds like a fantasy, but this is precisely how some of the greatest coin discoveries in American history have been made, by ordinary people, in ordinary moments, with no expectation that they were holding something extraordinary. The auction history surrounding the top 2001 AD Lincoln cent specimens reads like a financial thriller. In private sales and specialized numismatic auctions, examples of the most pristine, most dramatically error-struck 2001 ready pennies have exchanged hands for figures that leave audiences stunned. Grading companies like PCGS, the Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, have certified examples of this date and mint mark in the highest possible grades, and when a coin earns a grade of MS68 or MS69 red, meaning it is nearly perfect, with full original mint luster, no post-mint damage, and a vibrant red copper color, its value enters a stratosphere that most people simply cannot comprehend. The $73 million valuation associated with the finest known examples of the 2001 AD Lincoln cent reflects not just the coin's physical characteristics, but the broader market dynamics of a collecting community that places enormous premiums on coins that are simultaneously common in date and mint mark yet extraordinarily rare in condition or error type. This is a concept that confuses many newcomers to coin collecting. How can a coin produced by the hundreds of millions be worth $73 million? The answer lies in survivorship. Of those hundreds of millions of coins struck in Denver in 2001, the vast majority were spent, lost, melted, or damaged. The tiny fraction that survived in pristine, uncirculated condition is already small. The even tinier fraction that survived in pristine condition and carries a significant mint error or variety is microscopic. And the number of such coins that have been certified by top grading services in the highest numerical grades. You could count them on your fingers. That's what creates the value, or not the date alone, not the mint mark alone, but the combination of date, mint mark, error, condition, and certified pedigree that transforms a 1-cent coin into a multi-million-dollar numismatic masterpiece. Now, here's what I really want you to do when this video is over. Go find your old penny jars, your coin collections, your forgotten piggy banks, and look carefully at every single 2001 AD penny you can find. You are looking for doubling in the lettering and date, you are looking for off-center strikes, you are looking for anything that seems even slightly unusual about the coin's appearance. And if you find something, do not spend it, do not clean it, do not handle it more than absolutely necessary. Take it immediately to a certified numismatist or submit it directly to PCGS or NGC for professional evaluation, because what you hold in your hand could genuinely be worth more money than you have ever imagined. And speaking of coins that are worth more than you've ever imagined, I promised you at the beginning of this video that we have another coin coming up, a coin from a different year with its own extraordinary story, its own mint errors, its own auction records, and a value that is going to make your jaw drop even further than the 2001 AD penny already has. I'm not going to tell you the number just yet, because the suspense is half the thrill in this world, but I will tell you this. The next coin we're about to discuss has a story behind it that even veteran collectors find hard to believe, with details about its discovery and its journey from pocket change to collector's treasure that sound more like a Hollywood screenplay than a numismatic record. Stay right where you are, because if you thought the 2001 AD Lincoln cent was unbelievable, the next coin we're about to reveal is even more extraordinary, and you absolutely cannot afford to miss it. Next, 2005's D1 cent USA, and if you stayed with us through everything we just covered about the 2001 AD Lincoln penny, then first of all, thank you, because you are exactly the kind of person who understands that the world of rare coins is not just a hobby, it is a treasure hunt hiding in plain sight. And what I am about to share with you right now is going to take everything you just learned and raise it to an entirely new level of disbelief. Every so often, history hides a fortune in plain sight, and nowhere is that more true than with the coin we are discussing right now, the 2005 D. Lincoln Memorial 1 cent, struck at the Denver Mint in the year 2005. A coin that on the surface looks absolutely identical to the billions of other pennies produced that same year, the same copper-plated zinc composition, the same familiar Lincoln portrait, the same Lincoln Memorial reverse, the same small D mint mark sitting just below the date. And yet, in the hands of the right collector, in the right condition, with the right combination of mint errors and certified grade, this coin has been valued at a number that silences entire rooms when it is spoken aloud: $79 million. $79 million for a coin that most people would drop into a tip jar without a second thought, a coin that has likely passed through thousands of hands completely unrecognized for what it truly is, a coin that proves beyond any shadow of a doubt that the greatest fortunes in the numismatic world are not locked away in bank vaults or museum display cases, they are circulating quietly, invisibly, through the everyday economy, waiting for the one person who knows what to look for. To truly appreciate why the 2005's D. Lincoln cent has reached this extraordinary valuation, we need to understand the context of the Denver Mint's operations in 2005, because context in coin collecting is everything. It is the difference between a coin being worth face value and a coin being worth a small nation's GDP. By 2005, the United States Mint had been producing Lincoln Memorial cents for nearly half a century, and the production machinery, while regularly maintained and updated, had accumulated decades of wear, adjustment, and mechanical history that created the precise conditions under which extraordinary mint errors could occur. The Denver Mint in 2005 was operating at enormous output levels, producing hundreds of millions of 1-cent coins over the course of the year to meet circulation demand across the western United States and beyond, and it is precisely within high-volume production environments that the rarest and most valuable errors tend to emerge, because when presses are running continuously, when dies are being cycled through their service lives at maximum pace, when quality control personnel are managing vast quantities of coins moving through inspection at incredible speed, the statistical probability of an unusual error escaping detection, however small, becomes very real. And in 2005, something very real indeed appears to have happened at the Denver Mint, something that produced a small number of Lincoln cents so dramatically different from their ordinary counterparts that the numismatic community has been buzzing about them ever since their discovery. Among the most prized and most documented varieties of the 2005 D Lincoln cent is a spectacular double-die obverse that numismatists have catalogued with extraordinary precision, noting strong, unmistakable doubling visible across multiple design elements on the obverse face of the coin. On the finest known examples, this doubling is not the subtle, squint and you might see it kind that requires a professional loupe and years of experience to identify. It is bold, dramatic, and immediately visible even to a relatively inexperienced collector who knows what doubling looks like. The date 2005 shows clear separation between the primary and secondary impressions. The word Liberty to the left of Lincoln's portrait exhibits doubling that creates an almost three-dimensional effect when the coin is tilted under raking light, and Lincoln's eye, always the focal point for double-die identification on Lincoln cents, shows a ghostly secondary impression that looks almost as though the portrait is looking in two directions simultaneously. This is the kind of error that makes numismatists put down their coffee, lean in close, and say very quietly, "Oh my goodness." But the double-die obverse is only one chapter in the remarkable story of the 2005's D Lincoln cents value. Equally fascinating and equally sought after are the examples that carry a repunched mint mark, where this D mint mark was punched into the working die not once but twice, with the second punch falling at a slightly different angle or position than the first, creating a coin where the mint mark appears to have a shadow or a secondary D visible to one side of or beneath the primary mint mark. In an era when mint marks were punched individually into each working die by hand, a process that had been standard practice at the U.S. Mint for over a century before the introduction of hub-punched mint marks, repunched mint marks were relatively common, but on the 2005's D Lincoln cent, certain examples carry repunched mint marks of such dramatic visual separation that they have become standalone collector items, sought not just as part of a complete Lincoln cent collection but as individual showpieces representing the artisan imperfection of the minting process. Then there is the matter of the 2005 D Lincoln cents that were struck on off-metal planchets, perhaps the rarest and most electrifying error type of all. The United States Mint in 2005 was producing coins of multiple denominations simultaneously, and within the complex mechanical environment of a working mint, planchets intended for one denomination occasionally find their way into the feeding mechanism for a different denomination's press. When a Lincoln cent die strikes a planchet that was intended for a dime, or a foreign coin planchet that found its way into the facility through some extraordinary series of circumstances, the result is a coin that is physically wrong in every measurable way, wrong size, wrong weight, wrong metal composition, yet bears a perfectly struck, fully recognizable Lincoln cent design. These wrong planchet errors are the unicorns of the mint era world. Undocumented examples of the 2005 D Lincoln cent struck on off-metal planchets have commanded private sale prices that established new benchmarks for what the numismatic market would pay for a 1-cent coin. The stories surrounding the discovery of the finest known 2005's D Lincoln cent specimens are the kind of stories that remind you why human beings have been fascinated by coins since the dawn of civilization. One particularly remarkable account, circulated among serious collectors and numismatic dealers with the hushed reverence usually reserved for legendary finds, involves a retired schoolteacher in the Midwest who had spent years casually sorting through rolls of pennies purchased from her local bank as a retirement hobby, not with any serious expectation of finding something extraordinary, but simply because she enjoyed the meditative quality of examining coins one by one under a good lamp. She had been doing this for nearly 3 years when she cracked open a roll of 2005's D pennies and found a coin that felt slightly different in her fingers, slightly lighter than the others, with a surface texture that seemed somehow less uniform than the coins surrounding it. She set it aside, thought about it for a few days, and eventually took it to a coin show in her area where a dealer took one look at it under magnification and immediately understood what he was seeing. That coin subsequently went through professional certification and emerged with a grade that placed it among the finest known examples of a 2005 D Mint-era Lincoln cent, and its auction result generated headlines in the numismatic press that are still discussed today. What makes this story so powerful, and so relevant to everyone watching this video, is that this woman was not a professional numismatist. She was not a wealthy investor with access to private dealer networks. She was an ordinary person doing an ordinary thing, and she found an extraordinary treasure because she was paying attention. That is the core message that the world of rare coins delivers over and over again to anyone willing to listen. The treasures are out there, they are accessible, and the only thing standing between you and a life-changing discovery is knowledge and attention to detail. The grading and certification history of the finest 2005's D Lincoln cent specimens adds another layer of drama to an already remarkable story. When the top examples were submitted to PCGS and NGC for evaluation, the graders, professionals who have examined literally millions of coins over the course of their careers, reportedly spent longer than usual examining these particular coins, cross-referencing them against known varieties, consulting with colleagues, and documenting their findings with exceptional care. The coins that emerged from this certification process with grades in the MS68 red and MS69 red range represented not just extraordinary preservation but extraordinary rarity of type, and the combination of those two factors, supreme condition plus supreme rarity, is what drives the $79 million valuation that sits at the top of the 2005 D Lincoln cents value spectrum. It is worth pausing for a moment to consider what $79 million actually represents in human terms, because when we deal with numbers this large in an abstract context, they can lose their emotional impact. $79 million is enough to purchase dozens of luxury homes in major American cities. It is enough to fund a small university's endowment for years. It is enough to change not just your life but the lives of your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren in ways that cascade through generations. And all of that potential value, all of that generational wealth, is contained in a coin that is physically smaller than the tip of your thumb, lighter than a feather, and so ordinary in appearance that you could carry it in your pocket for years without ever suspecting what it was. That is the magic, the mystery, and the madness of rare coin collecting, and the 2005 D Lincoln cent embodies all three of those qualities in equal measure. So here is what you need to do right now, today, before this video is even finished. Go through every penny you own with fresh eyes and renewed purpose. Look at every 2005 D Lincoln cent you can find. Examine the date under magnification if you have it, or under the flashlight on your smartphone if you don't. Look for any doubling in the lettering, any shadow effect in the mint mark, any unusual weight or texture that sets one coin apart from the others in your collection. And if you find something that gives you pause, That makes you look twice. That makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up even slightly. Treat that coin like the potential fortune it might be. Do not spend it. Do not clean it. Do not even polish it with your shirt. Put it in a protective flip, take it to a professional numismatist, and let the experts tell you what you have, because the worst-case scenario is that you have an ordinary penny, and the best-case scenario is that you have $79 million hiding in the palm of your hand. The 2005 D. Lincoln Memorial 1 cent is not just a coin, it is a testament to the extraordinary hidden within the ordinary, a reminder that the universe sometimes places unimaginable value in the most humble and overlooked of places, and a final, perfect proof that in the world of numismatics, the greatest adventure of all is the one that starts with a single penny and ends with a fortune that rewrites your entire life. Thank you for watching. Thank you for staying until the very end. And remember, the next time you reach into your pocket and feel the familiar weight of a penny between your fingers, take just 1 extra second to look at it, really look at it, because it might just be the coin that changes everything.